Hello and welcome back to Rossoneri TV. I'm Gio and I'm here for a new video where today I'll be speaking about Berlusconi and his possible departure from the club. Of course, I am joined here once again by Adamo Ritacco. He'll be making an appearance a bit later on onto this live stream. But like I said, the main topic of discussion today is Silvio Berlusconi, as in the past few days, there have been reports about him possibly leaving the club when the Chinese takeover takes place. Of course, you might have heard about him probably staying as an honorary president. These were at least his conditions and what he wanted at the club. But it seems like the Chinese won't give him that. They won't give him that access. They won't give him that decision-making power. And therefore, that is why Silvio Berlusconi might leave. So like I said, as we all know, the closing date for the agreement is expected to take place on March the 3rd. And in the next few days, Milan will start to make some appointments between themselves before getting together with the Chinese between the 1st and the 3rd of March to close off this deal. I just wanted to talk a bit about the situation and what I personally think about Berlusconi leaving before I hand over the control to Adamo, and he's gonna have his say concerning this story. I just think that for a guy that won't have much say or any say at all, there's absolutely no point of him staying at the club, even as an honorary president. Like, really, all it is a title that just keeps your name in the club, in the staff or the management, but really you have no say whatsoever in no decision making, nothing at all. So personally, I don't really see what benefits Berlusconi could get out of this. His main idea, or at least his main reason as to why he wanted to be honorary president, is, or at least was, to have some access to power decisions, to making decisions in terms of either buying players, selling players, on how things should be going with the coaches, whether who, or at least who should be fired and so forth, what formations, that's his favorite thing to say, what formations Milan should play with, and so forth. So that was pretty much his main purpose of him being or at least wanting to be the honorary president here at Milan. But to be honest with you, like, there's just no point at all. There's just no point in him being the president. There's no point in him having this name if he has no say at the club. And that is why I think it is best for everyone that he just leaves. We don't need any more of his drama, him wanting to make headlines at Milan. I think it's just unnecessary for him to even have a role at this club without really not doing anything. He's not going to be contributing financially. He's not going to be contributing with his decision making. Pretty much, he's not going to be doing anything. So I think at the end of the day, he knows that he won't be having a say. He knows that he should be leaving. And that's exactly what's more likely to happen now that the closing actually takes place in March with the Chinese takeover. But without further ado, I'm gonna hand over to Adamo Ritacco. He's gonna have his say regarding this whole situation. So Adamo, as I said, these reports came in. What did you make of them? Do you think Berlusconi is taking the right path towards leaving this club and really not staying in it for just his personal interest?
We all know he's quite an interesting guy. I mean, he's got a past history of doing some crazy things. But I do think that, Berlusconi is power hungry. He always wants to have a say. He always wants to have control. And he wants to be known as the reason, I think, is, something that he goes for a lot. He wants to be the reason Milan were great. He wants to be the reason Milan are going to continue to be great. Mm-hmm. And he pretty much doesn't stop at nothing until that happens, which is a good thing because he wants success for the club. But it's sort of in a selfish way that he wants success just so his name gets out there more. And I think that, with the honorary title of just being the president and having no say whatsoever, he can't really claim that, he's the reason they're going to be doing good, or he's the reason they have money, or he's the reason that the club makes Champions League or makes whatever they end up doing in the future. So I think that that's something that really sort of gets to him a little bit when the Chinese mentioned that they don't intend on having him do that, which I think is a terrific statement to make to him, because I don't want to be playing a 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1 and being so well in the table and high up, and then he says, "Oh, we're doing great, but we're not playing the 4-3-1-2, so we're not going to win."
Yeah.
And we need to get this coach out of here. Even though he's in Champions League, he's not playing the way I want to play. So this doesn't work, as we've seen with Mihailovic, of course, in the past, and with Seedorf. If you don't follow what he says, you are gone. So I think that it's good that the Chinese are getting him out of the club. If he were to be an honorary president, he wouldn't have no positive, no negative. He would just be there sitting on a couch watching Milan games, hopefully, and just having that title on a pin on his chest. So I don't think that there will be too much issue, as long as he either has no power or is out of the club. It's a perfect scenario for Milan, because he can't really cause any more trouble going forward.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And like you said there, for Berlusconi to just have his name tag there saying honorary president, he's not the type of guy that just wants that name tag. The guy, as we know him, always wants to be in control of the situation. You made a perfect example there with Montella, and not only, also Seedorf, Inzaghi, and so forth, pretty much firing the names that have been part of the history of Milan in the last freaking God knows how long, 10, 15 years. He just took these guys that were just, club legends, and he treated them like shit, pretty much, which is, completely unacceptable in my eyes. It's like treating your best friend after 10, 15 years. You give him a role to do something, and you're like, oh no, you know what? I'm not investing in you, but you should still do amazing. So yeah, at that point, I'm just gonna let you go. Like,
get out of here.
He's just shown complete nonsense over the years, and I completely agree with you. This is a new management. It is a takeover from the Chinese, and the takeover should mean that they should be the ones in charge. They shouldn't have a little voice behind their head saying, "You should do this, you should do that." Like, no one wants that at all, So I completely agree with the whole situation. I completely agree with the fact that the Chinese, they told him, "We're buying your club, but you're not going to have any say." And I think this is amazing. I think possibly these are the best news that us Milanisti could have heard all along from this takeover. I just hope finally it will take place. Of course, we are just about 2 to 3 weeks away from all of this. So yeah, let's hope it actually does take place, and that Berlusconi keeps his mouth shut and he won't have a say in the club anymore. But I'm curious to know what you guys think about the whole situation. What do you think about Berlusconi possibly leaving or at least his attempted role of getting honorary president? Do you think it will benefit Milan? Or you think maybe, on the other hand, that he should still have a role at the club? I know this is probably, I'm speaking about the minority over here, but he should still have a bit of a, say, at least to help the Chinese in managing some decision making in which maybe they're not really, in the best to do so. But then again, we got guys like Fassone and Mirabelli now, sporting directors, which have been in the profession for a long time. So I'm pretty sure they could direct the Chinese if they have any inquiries regarding how they should proceed. But let me know your take on the whole story. Let me know if you believe that Berlusconi should at least have a say, or maybe should stay as an honorary president to give some word of advice, even though his advice is pretty much shit all the time. Or you think he should leave and leave everyone alone once and for all. Let me know in the comments section below. First of all, Santino says, Gio, he needs to leave, new money, new president, and then he should be eating his boogers. That's what Santino's saying. And get with hookers. Well, I'm pretty sure he's got with hookers for a long time. We were just talking about that before the actual live stream, Adamo. But yeah, I completely agree with that. He should be leaving. He should be caring about his own health. The guy is old. He needs to take care of himself. He cannot, have any more say in something that's so important, so fundamental like the club. Like Milan is, the guy simply has lost it. His mind is not there anymore. So he definitely needs to take care of his mental issues and his personal well-being as well. Marcello, the Presidente, the Milan Club Montreal Presidente, he's currently watching. Greetings to you, Marcello. He said, when you spend that kind of money to acquire a team, you should also have a budget to go hire the best cultural minds out there. So Berlusconi out. Completely agree with you there. Jim Tan says, Gio, think how Milan would have been without Berlusconi these past 30 years. I'm not even speaking about the past. I'm looking forward to the future because everyone knows the past is not going to bring you anything. It's only the future that will, and the present at least. So I'm really not thinking about the past. I acknowledge everything that he's done. I'm grateful to all the trophies he's brought to our history. But it's time to look forward. It's time to look to the new things and not to the past. I speak specifically about this even to people that I know. You cannot live in the past. And like, what's the past gonna do to you? Yeah, it might make you smarter, it might make you wiser, but in the long run, you always have to look forward to the future and what you could accomplish further on. How many times did we hear Adamo over the past 4 or 5 years, Galliani saying, we have 7 Champions Leagues, we have done better than Juventus these many times, better than Inter? Really? Okay, and what's that supposed to change for us in the long run? What, we should feel somehow prestigious to have this sort of record? We want to win more trophies. We want to have better things coming for us in the future. We cannot put our heads in the past. And that's why the past in me, I acknowledge it. I appreciate what he's done. But it's not something that I have in the back of my head every 2 seconds to think about. I'm thinking about the future, the players that we're going to get, the trophies that we need to achieve and acquire. This is what I want. This is what I'm focusing on. Moving on. Santino also says, to be honest, I'm scared if Inter gets Simeone from Atletico with their money and this coach. I just hope Montella, with the money for the Mercato, can make our starting 11 amazing. And this is something that we've been speaking about last time, Adamo, when we spoke about formations last week. And, we said it. Even though we do have the budget, 120, 150 million euros coming with the Chinese, doesn't necessarily mean that, we'll have all the best players out there. In recent times, we've made stupid purchases, of course. But now, maybe with the new sporting directors, Fassone, Mirabelli, they could actually allocate these funds to better and smarter signings. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that even with the money that we do get in the summer Mercato, we could have a very strong starting 11 and maybe even some depth on the bench?
I think so. I think that you mentioned depth there. That's a big thing because if I'm pretty sure I've said this in the past as well, but if you look at some mid-table teams in Serie A, no word of a lie, they have better depth than AC Milan. It is an absolute joke how if one player gets injured, the whole starting lineup just shakes when they face any other team because Bonaventura's not in it, or Kuchka's not in it, or Romagnoli's not in it, because without any of the pillars that we have in the midfield and attack and the defense, or even Donnarumma and net, if he were to go down injured, we're lost. There's nothing we can do. We're going to be losing the next 5 games, guaranteed. And so I think that's a big problem with Milan. And they don't have utility players either. It's not like you need these world-class, world-renowned names to bring you success. You need players who can do the job, which is sort of, mentioning Simeone, that's what he built his Atletico team off of. Those players started off as unknown players that nobody cared about, but once he instilled his sort of philosophy into them, they played amazing. And, you can get any team to play great as long as you have people to fill roles, which is the exact reason teams like Sassuolo and other mid-table teams sort of make their rush to the top 5 despite being such bottom feeders in the past years, because they have players that fit a system and they fit a role, despite not being Pogba or being famous on Vine or having a million Twitter followers. So I just hope that Milan can acquire smart players and not just these big names. You can hear my dogs in the background. They agree with me. They're always on my side. But I think that a good squad can be made from this budget. Obviously, you can't make a complete squad with that. You look at teams like Real Madrid, they still have holes, and they've spent probably over $1 billion in the past 10 years. So, it takes time. You have to wait. Even though you have the money, doesn't mean you have the success. We saw with Inter, they've bought some incredible players, Brozovic, João Mario, they've bought Murillo, Miranda, so many great players, but not until recently they started showing up because, they had the leadership of their new coach, and, they started, realizing how each other play. So I think it's going to take a lot of time for Milan to find great success, winning the Champions League, contending for the league, being at the level of the likes of Juventus, and, even reaching something that Napoli's doing this season as well, and as they've done in the past. That's going to take some time. So as long as Milan bring in the right players, I'll be satisfied.
Yeah, it's definitely a step-by-step process. You can't just expect them to sign all the players that they want to sign in the summer and make absolute crazy games, crazy results on every given week. Definitely, it will improve the results. It will improve their standing position. At least I hope so. And the main objective is returning to the Champions League, something that probably won't be done this season. I could almost 99% be sure of that. But yeah, definitely returning to Europe, returning to the Champions League, and later on, like he said, winning titles like the Champions League. It's gonna take time, that's for sure. It's a time in which you need some process. You need a step-by-step process. But definitely, making the quality signings, like you said, in the summer will be a good start. Also for next season. Sue Muscat says, can you please repeat the news as I came in late? I could definitely do this. For all those people that came in late, what we're talking about today is Berlusconi possibly not having that role of honorary president that he's always wanted when the Chinese takeover takes place. Now, of course, Berlusconi wanted that title so that he could still have some say in decision making. But the Chinese don't want to give him any decision making. They don't want him to, be influential in the future of the club, and therefore that is why they're not willing to really give him this title, or at least he could get the title, but he won't have any power in making any decisions, and that's why Berlusconi is thinking, what's the point of just having the title if I'm just going to be sitting there without making any decisions, without having any say for the club. And that's pretty much the story that we're talking about today, which is most likely to be official whenever the Chinese takeover takes place. And there's also been reports in which I still haven't mentioned, Adamo. Of course, over the past week, there were also rumors regarding Milan, or at least Fininvest, possibly retaining 20% of the club when the Chinese takeover took place, so that the Chinese would take 80% and Fininvest would keep 20%. These declarations were quickly dismissed by Fininvest themselves. So yeah, there's no worry. What it is that the Chinese are taking 99.9% of the club when the takeover is expected to take place. So that's pretty much the roundup of the news that we had to mention. Let's see what else you guys have to say in the comment section regarding this situation. YY says, thanks Berlusconi for all the years you have given this team, but like evolution, you have to adapt to the new surroundings in order to survive and be the best team in the world. And that's exactly it. You got teams now like Atalanta, a team that for sure doesn't have the money that Milan has, yet they're doing so well. And this goes back to what you mentioned, Adamo, about having players that fit the system. They simply have players that fit that system, and they're getting results almost on a weekly basis. They have a very solid season. Many people were writing Atalanta off at the beginning, saying, oh, maybe it's just like the beginning of the season that they're actually doing well, but they will soon fall in the standings. But guess what? It's 24 games in, and they're still up there contending for Europe, not having even anywhere near the money that teams like Inter or Milan have, not even having, or at least paying the wages that Milan or Inter are to their players, and they're still competing up there. And like I said, this goes back to what you mentioned about having players that fit the system. And Milan, simply, there's still players out there playing at Milan that, even though they're playing that starting 11, they simply don't know what they're doing. And we've seen it over and over again. If it's not one guy, it's another guy. If it's not 1 week, it's another week. This is exactly, it comes down to getting quality players that could play their role and could play in a given system. That's the type of signings that Milan needs to make in the summer in order to have a successful campaign next season. If you're just buying players for the like of it, not to use another word, it's not very likely that you will be getting the result that you want to achieve. It's like going to the supermarket and trying to buy meat that you just find on the first shelf you see. Yeah, you're gonna go back home, but what if that meat's not what you really wanted? You're gonna try it and it's gonna taste like shit. You're gonna throw it out. That's pretty much the story of Milan. That's pretty much it. They just went to the transfer market. They were getting players every given transfer window, and in the hope of finding players that would fit their system. And guess what? More times than not, those gambles didn't pay the dividends,
Yeah.
and now they're obviously suffering the consequences.
Mhm.
Let's get into more comments here. Jim 10 says, Jill, do you agree with the Chinese being the new owners? What I mean is that definitely other billionaire Italians or other Europeans shown an interest in the club. To be honest with you, no Italian billionaire has really shown interest in Milan. There were some reports about some firms like back in the days, but they weren't really concrete. And to be honest, there's not that many rich people in Italy like there are outside the world. If you go in Saudi Arabia or in Asia or Russia, these are the countries where the money's at. You
Yeah.
know, you won't find many billionaires in Italy. Sure, millionaires you'll find plenty, but billionaires, not many, to be honest with you. So yeah, definitely. Italians, I don't think it's very much of a case. Europeans, I'm not really recalling any European that was particularly interested in buying the club. Let's also not forget that this team needs the appropriate funds. When Berlusconi started speaking to Sino Europe and everything, they guaranteed him that they will be spending all kinds of money. They guaranteed him that they will be covering debts and stuff like that.
Mhm.
You know, you're not just gonna go to a random guy and say, "Oh, can you buy my team?" Or, "Yeah, here's 100 million." What are you supposed to do with 100 million euros? Absolutely nothing. You need billions. You need a lot of money to buy a club and actually manage it for the good. So yeah, definitely that's not the case. Um, Kyle says a man who thinks Bertolacci is worth 20 million cannot be in the charge of a club like Milan anymore, and I completely agree with you there. Murad says he should leave as soon as possible. Jim says 1 or 2 years ago I heard rumors about Ferrero. I heard about that too, but he's not rich. He's not a billionaire, to be honest. At least I don't think he is, or else he wouldn't be owning a team like Sampdoria, to be honest with you. So, yeah, definitely not. Paul Solo says it's his birthday, so happy birthday to you. We're giving you a shout out
Happy
live on air.
birthday!
Even from a Dowry Taco, man. You can't go
Yeah!
wrong. You can't go
You're
wrong
the
on
man.
Rossoneri TV. Someone's asking about should Milan sign Pasalic. What do you think about that, Adamo?
It's pretty interesting. I think he's had good games. He's had average games. I think that if he were to not be a starter, because I think if Milan did have 130 million, that you wouldn't be expecting somebody like Pasalic to start. I think he'd be a great utility player. He has a lot of energy. He's obviously big. He knows what to do in certain situations, and I think that he'd definitely be an upgrade over a lot of the options that Milan have on the bench now. And maybe even if he does well, and he's still young, so he could grow a lot. He has a lot of time to adapt. I think that he could be a great player in the future, and if he does, it would be great to have him at Milan. So it depends on the price. If you're asking for Bertolacci type money, I wouldn't necessarily say that's a good idea. But I do think that Chelsea will be looking to offload a lot of players because they have like 200 players on loan or something like that. So they definitely want to be, investing in these players and getting their money back. So I think if Milan did offer, a decent amount, maybe 5 to 10, something around that, it will not be a bad buy. And I think that, Milan could make a smart signing with Pasalic in the future.
Well, I've also said, over the past few months, people were already praising him just because he was scoring a goal or two sometimes. But I've always said we should wait until the end of the season to actually make a proper judgment on this player. And it's not only about Pasalic. I've also said this about Locatelli. Some people were giving him stick for previous performances where he definitely was lacking. I'm not going to deny that. But, I think you should give some players time to actually make a real judgment over whether it's worth to buy the player or not. So at this moment, I would definitely probably buy him for the right price. And what I mean by that is if Chelsea are demanding anything really more than 5 to 7 million, I probably wouldn't really invest in that. At the same time, if we do have about 130 million euros coming in, then I don't see why not, because we could still make very proper signings with all that money. We don't have to spend 50 million on each player. You gotta make smart signings of maybe 30 to 35 million per player. That would be, a very good transfer market if you could get a few quality players for that price. So yeah, definitely. I think if it's the right price tag, we should go for him. But if it's too much, if Chelsea are really pushing the situation, I think maybe we should look at other alternative options. Um, let's see some more comments before we sign off. Caleb says, Calcio Mercato says our top priorities are Musacchio, Dahoud, Badei, Keita Balde, Bernardeschi. Who should we sign in the summer? And Damo, we spoke about this a few times already, specifically about Badei, Keita Balde, and Bernardeschi. Also Musacchio being pretty much the only center back option that we've heard since like last summer. I don't know why Milan are not linked to any more names, at least for the moment. We did mention some names over the course of the January transfer window, but not really names that have been severely linked to the club, I guess. But what do you make out of these players? Guys like Daoud, Bade, Keita Balde, even Bernardeschi. Of course, we saw a beauty of a goal from him yesterday against Mönchengladbach. But what do you make of these players? Specifically about guys like Bade, Keita Balde, and Bernardeschi. You know, guys that already have experience in the Serie A, and I think could contribute very well to Milan. What do you think?
I think those would be huge signings if Milan got any of them. I think Bade is a perfect player from Montella. Obviously, he would probably be replacing Locatelli in the lineup. He's done very, very well for Fiorentina in the past, and his agent has expressed their desire to go to Milan or at least leave Fiorentina because of the way things have been as of late. So I think he would be incredible. You look at a player like Bernardeschi, he would be amazing as well, even better because I think he is a future talent for Italy. And even now, he's somebody who should be starting in an Italian lineup for the national team because of the performances he puts in for Fiorentina week in and week out are incredible. Somebody of that age scoring those type of goals, making those type of plays. He's very mature in the way he plays, and he's a big guy, so he knows what he's doing. Obviously, Keita Balde, I really like him as a player. Very fast. He does finish quite a lot sometimes, but my issue with him is mentally. I think you need a coach that is very, very strong. A coach like Mihailovic would turn Keita Balde into an incredible player because you need to be stern with them. I'm not sure how Montella is. He doesn't really show it much. You can't see it as obvious as you would see in somebody like Mihailovic. I mean, you look at Allegri, he's a bit kind of a nutter. He's kind of crazy. You see that in him. So I don't think he gets taken advantage of too much, but I'm not sure about Montella's personality and if players do take advantage of him. Because if they do, I think Keita could be a disaster. And, if you don't, lay down the right type of discipline, he could go off the rails, which is, I'm pretty sure, exactly why he left Barcelona. I believe he was at their youth academy and went to a team like Lazio because of the way he was acting. He was kind of like Balotelli, always playing pranks, always joking around, and doing some serious stuff as well. So I think looking at a player like that, great player if you look at his quality-wise, but you need a manager who's strong enough to, tame him. And I'm not sure if Montella is. Hopefully he is. There's nothing to really reference that off of. But, if he can get a little mad at him, if he can get a little nasty, I think that would be great if they could sign a player like him. Obviously, Dahoud not being in the Serie A, playing in Germany, of course, still an incredible player. I was asked on Twitter about him earlier, last night, actually. I have seen him play quite a bit. I've seen him in the Bundesliga. I've seen him play in Europe. Obviously, in the Europa League, we've seen he's a great player, great playmaker, knows his stuff. He knows how to read the play. Obviously, he's no Verratti or anything like that, but I do think that Dahoud would be filling a good role that Milan need. But I'm not sure if I'd want to take the risk, mainly due to the fact that, he's not experienced in the Serie A, and of course he can adapt and turn into an incredible player. But I think Milan should wait for somebody even more special. Maybe they should be, with a budget like that. I think Dahoud's role is something key to the way Milan play. So I think that role would be exactly what Milan would spend big on. He could be a great player. I think he has a lot of potential, and he does very, very well for Borussia Mönchengladbach. Totally nailed that name. Don't even judge me. But I think that, he's a great player, and going forward, Milan should be searching over their options. I would prefer somebody in Italy that knows the league and, knows the players that they're surrounded by, because you could bring in Dahoud. He could be great in Germany, and then he could be trashing the Serie A for 2 to 3 years because he has to adapt. As you're seeing with Pogba in England, it's hard for him to sort of find his footing. He has had amazing performances, but you can tell that he's still struggling to adapt to the league and the way that they play. So if you ask me, I would take the gamble, but it all depends on how much his price is, and I don't think that they'll be accepting anything below something like 30 to 35 million
Hmm.
for a player like him, because I'm sure a lot of Premier League clubs will be after him. So overall, majority of those players, I would take them. But I think it all depends on prices and other options, because you can easily go to a league like Belgium, scout that league, and which is something that Milan suck at. They are terrible at scouting. They pick up the worst players out of, I don't know what this management is thinking with some of their signings, but spending 20 million on Bertolacci, I'd rather go to a league like Belgium and pick off some of their prospects, because Koulibaly came from Ghent, I believe, in Belgium, and with his first year in Napoli, he was kind of shaky. People thought, oh, this guy's he can't even come close to what Napoli need, and now he's the star, and Chelsea wanted him, and all these other Premier League teams, and now he's the stud of Napoli's defense. So I think if you can go to lower leagues and spend smart, that would be better and more beneficial. But that takes a lot of scouting and a lot of proper judgment, and is very, very risky. So realistically, to summarize pretty much what I just said for like 3 hours, I would take practically all those players, especially Bernardeschi. I think he's a fantastic winger that could definitely adapt under Montella's system and play the way he likes to play. But overall, I think the management will make the right decisions.
Yeah, let's definitely hope so. And I hope a lot of investments is specifically put in that midfield, because we definitely need reinforcements, in which we haven't gotten any in the light years, pretty much. But yeah, we definitely need reinforcements in the midfield. And like you said, Bernardeschi would be an absolute incredible addition to our wings. So yeah, definitely I would agree with that. I would like a guy like Bernardeschi. Also, like you mentioned before, Keita Balde, a bit more of a gamble, I guess. Still a player with lots of potential. Still a player that on his given day could do a lot. So I think more than gambles, Milan needs absolute certainties. So let's hope that they do sign some very good players, some impactful players that are able to adapt to Montella's system, and they're capable of bringing in the results. Because at the end of the day, that's exactly what matters. On that note, guys, thank you all for joining us in this discussion. I love these discussions with you, Adamo, and I definitely love when you join me. I think all of the guys watching currently do as well, because they always ask for you to come on. So, Adamo, I think that's a hint. You should be coming on more often.
Exactly.
But moving on, guys, don't forget, tomorrow we will be having our Milan-Fiorentina match preview, and on Sunday, of course, the live stream watch along, followed by the match review. Also, if you guys weren't there in the past couple of days, I would just like to talk briefly about something that YouTube has added, and that is the super chat. You guys can now make donations to the channel if you wish on a video by clicking on the money button, which is right under where you type your comments. So people have already made contributions to the channel, and what I did was, whoever contributes to the channel, I'm gonna have their names scrolling in the scroll bar right below. So if you guys are interested in doing that, I will be having your names in the scroll box. So yeah, the donation could be anything you want. It could also be $1, $2, whatever it is. It's pretty much a way to support the channel and what we do here at Rossoneri TV. So on that note, guys, thank you all for watching. Tomorrow I'll be back for the match preview. This has been Gio and Adamo signing off, and as always, Forza Milan!